Good evening, and welcome to the Monday, September 8th, Kildova Hills Board of Commissioners meeting. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And before we go into our moment of silence this evening, just a couple of things. Since our last meeting, the town of Kildova Hills lost a great long-term resident, Miss Annie Rose Wells. Just not only a great resident in Kildova Hills, but an amazing volunteer, what she did at the senior center. And so just certainly a loss to our community. And I ask that you keep her family, Suzette and Ray Davis, in your thoughts. And then also just over the weekend, Dare County lost a tremendous man, Doug Romali. Doug recently retired as the fire marshal for Dare County, just within, I guess, the past year, maybe even the past 6 months. Doug was also a long-term commissioner for the town of Nags Head, and just a great community steward and advocate. He died Saturday night of a massive heart attack, so it was certainly a tragic and sudden loss to his family and to the Outer Banks. So as we enter our moment of silence, I ask for you to please keep their families in your thoughts and prayers. And with that, we'll ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay. First on the agenda this evening is agenda approval.
I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion or comments? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is the first time set aside this evening for public comment. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the board on any issue they want. It's an appropriate time to bring any concerns or thoughts you have to the town. We do ask, though, when you're speaking, that you limit your comments to 3 minutes if you're speaking as an individual. If you're speaking on behalf of a group, we ask for you to limit those comments to 5 minutes. We did have a sign-up sheet. I'm not sure if anyone signed up this evening. No, but that's okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak? Yes, sir. And if you'll approach the podium there and identify yourself by name and address, please.
Yes, ma'am.
So welcome.
Good evening. I'm Captain Patrick White. I live at 213 Broad Bay Drive, Collington, and right here in Kildova Hills. I currently hold a Master Towing Oceans, Master 1,600-ton Inspected Oceans, and I'm also a dynamic position operator. I'm married, 2 daughters attending first flight. My wife drives the school bus for Nags Head Elementary. I've only recently became aware of Kildova Hills' position on offshore drilling and production in the form of a resolution. Working and living in 2 different places has taught me that this type of thinking is short-sighted. Our proximity to the shipping lanes has always left us open to major disasters and spills. I myself have towed large sea-going oil and chemical barges well within sight of the tourists. Yet, with the good, safe practices of companies and their crews, we have on countless occasions steered these vessels safely to their destinations. Bringing oil and natural gas to the mainland can be accomplished safely also through the use of stop work authority, job safety analysis, rules placing more and more responsibility on the individual versus solely on the masters. Accountability has also changed these drilling operations are running on how they're run in 2014. Yes, some sea life may be injured or die. This happens in the construction on land through encroachment. Shipping has been doing it for years, but through programs already intact that promote looking out for the benefit of the Outer Banks, it's very easy to see how animals will continue to thrive in this unique habitat. North Carolina has 2 ports with the infrastructure capable of handling shipments of fuels and supplies that will sustain the oil and gas drilling and production industry without requiring large, expensive changes. Wilmington and Moorhead both have federal maintained channel depths to allow shipping. Dare County has an airport that would be great for a heliport for companies that transport their crews to their destinations on drilling platforms. I say ask yourself, why let ports like Norfolk, Charleston, Georgetown, or Savannah get all the glory and prosperity that accompanies the oil and gas industry? Jobs in construction, a renaissance for the shipping and the renewal and protection of the Jones Act shipping and building of these highly specialized vessels in U.S. cities. In conclusion, we, the residents of Kill Devil Hills and the caretakers of this beautiful piece of land and water, until renewable resources are fully integrated into our town and state, we should do our best to take as large of a part in the managing of how non-renewable resources are brought out of the earth into us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak this evening at this public comment time? Yes, Matt, welcome.
Hi, Matt Walker, 439 West Walker Street, Kill Devil Hills. Here on behalf of the Surfrider Foundation. I'm actually speaking in support of the item on the consent agenda and to voice my continued support, my continued fight against offshore drilling on behalf of Surfrider Foundation. With all due respect, I've lived in 2 places too. I spent every summer in Galveston, Texas, or an hour away from there growing up, and I see firsthand that tourism, a quality beach like we have, and offshore drilling just don't necessarily get along. We had this talk before, I was on the Gulf Coast after the BP still. I was in Florida. Empty beaches in the middle of June. As much as it sounds like a good idea to sort of add on an extra industry, that industry has the potential to kill 7 times as much money. I mean, we have $950 million was last 2013's Dare County tourism income take. I believe the biggest number they're saying drilling will bring North Carolina is $1.5 billion. It's safe to assume that the other 19 counties will more than make up that other $0.5 billion. I think the number I've seen is $10 billion. So what we're effectively doing is risking more than what we're actually going to get. And I think there's ways to, as far as your business, maybe renewable energy, that's the way you start moving in that direction, to provide those services. And really when it comes down to it, those 2 ports aren't in Dare County. Those jobs won't come here. And we have 11,500 tourism jobs in this county. That's a lot more than what ever stands to be brought here. I think the state's going to get, I think they threw out 15,000 jobs. So again, it's apples and oranges. One's going to give us money and revenue on and on and on. The other one just stands to risk all that. And I think it's smart to avoid even getting into bed. And the other thing to point out, and I'm sorry, just this week, BP got their settlement handed down. And what they do, they appealed. 4.5 years later, people are waiting to get paid for what happened 4.5 years ago. And the Exxon Valdez, it took 20 years. So for all the oversights, and we're going to learn from our mistakes, the fact is, if you look at their history, they promised one thing on the front side, they get what they want, and they don't follow through. And I think it's going to be sad. It'd be interesting to see how long this one takes to wind out. So we got to learn from our mistakes. They're going to come in and say we're going to promise a rose garden. When it comes down to it, they're not going to part with that money easy. So that was really rambling. I apologize. But thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public comment time? Seeing no hands, we'll close public comment. And as we typically do, we move, the next item agenda is response to public comment. But this item is actually under the mayor's agenda tonight. So I don't know if you guys can join us for the whole meeting, but if you can't, you can catch it. That discussion, certainly we welcome you to do so, but if you can't, these meetings are always aired later on the government education channel, or the government channel. I think it's cable 191 for most of our viewing area. And of course, we'll do a spotlight on this as well. But we welcome you all to stay, and we'll just go into discussion on that at that time, if that's okay with everyone. Okay. Okay. Next, then, we will move on. The next item agenda this evening is a closed session. and in accordance with provisions of the North Carolina General Statute, Chapter 143-318.11, Section A3. A motion will be in order for the Board of Commissioners to enter closed session for the purpose of consulting with an attorney employed or retained by the board in order to preserve attorney-client privileges. So that is a motion I'm making. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? For point of discussion and just for those of you in the audience or watching this later, we will be entering this closed session with our attorney, with Ben Gallup, representing us in this closed session, as the town's attorney, Steve, has a conflict in this discussion. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We will be back after the closed session. Okay, we're coming back from closed session. During the closed session, the board gave our attorney and the town manager direction to move forward on a legal matter. And with that, we will now move to the next item on our agenda, which is introductions and presentations. First, we welcome Aaron McCall with the Nags Head Woods Ecological Preserve, the 2014 annual report. Welcome, Aaron.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and town staff. Appreciate you letting me present this evening. I've just got a handful of slides to kind of go over basically the written report that you should have received prior to it. If you have any questions or comments during the time at any point, just stop me, slow me down, and I'll be happy to try to answer it as best as I can. Do I have a clicker over here?
We have a new computer, and I'm not sure that that's.
I would use the recommended fit.
I'm trying to load the PowerPoint. I haven't done that yet.
We'll give it a moment.
Yeah, give me just a sec. Let's try this. I think I got it. Okay. And then do this part here.
Gotta love computers.
Okay. All right. Next slide. So the main topics, I'll talk a little bit about volunteers, visitors, some restoration projects around there, prescribed fire. General stewardship will cover a lot of different topics, anywhere from dealing with invasive trail stuff. And then I'll talk a little bit about some acquisition, a piece of property that we just acquired. So that was actually not in your report. We just acquired that a couple months ago. So this is just some of our numbers. This comes off of our registration book. This is voluntary for people just to sign in. But we've had a total of 9,608 people sign in on the books. And there's some comments that you see. We had a few more comments within there. These are some of the ones that I picked out. It's this best part of OBX, another return visit. So we get a lot of people that are returning and coming there on a yearly basis, and we have a lot of people that live here locally that use the woods for running, things like that. But wonderful slice of life behind the dunes. Thanks for all NC does. The most beautiful natural trails in OBX, hands down. So that's a picture of my son fishing. We're getting a lot more people fishing back in the woods, and that was a largemouth bass caught back there in the ponds. And so we've got both the fishing platform, both on the 88 Trail and Discovery Trail, and those are open for fishing, catch and release, and things like that. So these are just some of the numbers over the last couple of years. As you can see, for the most part, we've had quite an increase in visitors. You can see around December, January, and February it was a little bit lower than average on those other couple of years, but that was also a very cold winter for us. And I'm sure if people were back in there, they probably weren't wasting a lot of time signing in and doing things like that. But overall, we've had quite a bit of an increase. And as you can see, in a lot of our months this past year, we had them close to over 1,000 visitors coming in there. So that's good. We've had also quite a bit of volunteers and volunteer hours that have helped with a lot of different projects. So we had 148 volunteers, and that equaled 2,909 hours. So they worked from anywhere from having college groups in here, Boy Scout groups. We also had a couple of volunteers that were interns with us that following summer and graduated from college. They had help with the HURT project in the past, and those two down in that bottom corner that are working on the wood duck boxes, they worked with me all winter and help with different projects and put in close to 20 hours a week coming back in there. And they learned a lot. They helped me get a lot of things. It was nice to have 4 extra hands when out there in the woods messing around with things and getting that stuff. We also had college groups building new bridges in some wet spots along trails, trying to just improve access and things of that nature as well. So outreach and partnership. So we did weekly interpretive events during the summer months. This is basically where it's just open to the public. We've got hands-on things for the kids, for adults to come in, snake skins, turtle shells. We try to talk to them about some of the plants and animals that they may find. We try to answer questions that they may have about the woods or what they may see. Did field trips with Wings Over Water, Wild Fest, Earth Day events, college and school groups. These are basically, we take them on hikes, teach them about Nags Head Woods, the importance of the maritime forest. And then we collaborated with North Carolina Aquarium. Rhonda Paris led some natural hikes in there, like owl prowls and things like that in the evening. Everything that we were involved in was free of charge. The Conservancy didn't charge for any of these field trips or any of these types of things. These are things that we just offer out there. We just finished up with our native plant restoration thing. This is all along the ADA trail. We got, as you can see, just over $10,000 from U.S. Fish and Wildlife to acquire plants. In that picture right there, that is the North Carolina Monarch Group. They come out there once a month on Wednesdays and help to weed the garden and different things like that. This is part of our butterfly garden and right in that area. We also planted some wetland species and some upland species on the other ridges. Majority of our plants were acquired through the North Carolina Aquarium and their planting program out there. We've been continuing to learn and trying to do some adaptation on our south end. This is more on the Nags Head side, but we've been trying to understand ways that we can use some of our natural type environments like oyster shells and submerged aquatic vegetation. That picture in the top corner is SAV, or submerged aquatic vegetation, widgeon grass, which we find a lot in our sounds back in here. And in the bottom picture is some of the college kids helping to bring oyster shells out there. We're trying to use some of these natural materials that both are good for providing habitat for marine life. Tend to find these things in our primary and secondary nurseries, but they can also help in reducing shoreline erosion or slowing down wave energy. This is not going to stop shoreline erosion, particularly during major storm events like Irene or Sandy, but these are some natural solutions that we're looking and trying to learn from, and also in the same time, because of our mission, trying to provide and improve habitat and our water quality behind the thing. So just one of the interesting things is, before we had the reefs in place, we had transects. We looked at our submerged aquatic vegetation back there. We had about 10%. After we started doing the oyster reefs and we did some seeding back there, our SAV beds went up to about 43%. So we had an increase in that. Now, there has been an increase. If you've been out in the Sound a lot this past year, the submerged aquatic vegetation is pretty abundant all over. So it could have been from some of our activities, or just water situation, water quality, and other things like that were ideal for all these things to bloom. We did some prescribed fire this year. On the past years, if you can recall, we worked mostly in our marshes and our wetland areas to reduce the fuel load. This year, we started to look at putting in fire breaks and also burning out areas within the maritime forest. These are small blocks. These are only like 1 to 2 to 3 acre parcels. But this gave us a better understanding of how fire would actually act during certain weather events, because we're burning under prescription, so we know generally this is the ideal situation for us to put fire on the ground. And in the same sense, we wanted to start to give ourselves a buffer, burn off some of the fuel, and start to look at areas where there's community lines and things like that, where we can have areas that we can establish that have reduced fuel loads. And the Forest Service, we worked hand in hand with Rob Shackelford from NC Forest. He was the burn boss for these type of things, and gives him an idea of how fire acts in there, what would happen after a fire, and hopefully, if we have an event or something like this, we've got places where we could already have reduced our fuel load, so it could prevent us from having to drop a plow, which could harm our soils and our other vegetation type, and we could use some of these areas to prevent the fire from creeping or moving to other areas. Prescribed fire is a tool that's used, throughout northeastern North Carolina, and we're still trying to get how we can best use it in Nags Head Woods, both doing it effectively for the maritime forest and safely for the communities around. This is just some pictures, just to see, these are some of the flame heights and length in the bottom corner. Staff is out there with these torches, and then you can see this is an area where we have a fire break adjacent to it. This is along the power line area, and then this is what the area looks like after it burns. So most of these burns take just a few hours, and by the end of the evening, this area is cool to touch and things of that nature. And then you've got the reduced fuel in those areas for a while. We had 38 registered hunters this past year, and with about 500 registered hours, we harvested 9 deer total, 4 females, 5 males. We also used some infrared cameras around the preserve. We put them out at 42 different locations during the season. This was both for me to get an idea of just observing how the deer are moving through the woods, and also for me to look about human activity in this area. We've had some different comments from hunters of having people off the trails moving through the woods at different times during the season, so there's a little bit of conflict of interest. The hunters are paying a fee. They're out there putting long, hard hours, and to have people walking off trails and through them, can be very frustrating for them. So I try to use the cameras both without having to me go in the woods. I could put the cameras out and watch, and I could get an idea of wildlife, the deer that are moving through, and then if is there any conflict within people and stuff like that. So these are thousands of pictures to go through. This is a picture of one of the deer that was spotted back in the woods, and we had some other wildlife. We did get people on our cameras from time to time. Actually, the most active time that I actually had more people on my cameras was during kind of the Christmas break time, when more people were off and out and about. So that would kind of be expected. More people have free time during the week and things like that. But here's some what I consider to be very neat pictures. In that left-hand corner up there, or that maybe it's your left, there's a bobcat. So we've documented some bobcat in the woods. The one that's kind of black and white, that's a family of otters that we're very curious about the camera right in there. I think there's 4 in that picture. And then as I know that most people are familiar with now, we have been observing coyotes in Nags Head Woods, and that right-hand corner is one of the coyotes that we've seen in our cameras in that area. We also did quite a bit of invasive removal this year, particularly dealing with these 3 different species: silverthorn or thorny olive, oriental bittersweet, and Japanese silkgrass. Silverthorn or thorny olive or Russian olive or whatever you'd like to call it is definitely a plant that's being planted more and more in these coastal areas. And it's showing up more and more in the woods. I've been working there for 15 years, and this has not been a problem until the last 4 or 5 years. Now it's showing up throughout the woods. In particular, it's showing up a lot on the roadsides. That bottom corner, you can see that little piece there. It looks like it's a root. It's actually a clipping from someone's lawn clipping, and then it got buried on the side of the hill, and it's free sprouts. So, when people bring in what would be considered their lawn clippings, they bring it into Nags Head Woods and think that, it's just natural stuff, it'll decompose, and also can sometimes become a nuisance or, start to acquire. And as you can see, we use a lot of volunteers to pull them up, and continue to work, kind of learning as to what works best with dealing with these type of things. But for the most part, because there are bushes and shrubs, we can identify them, flag them, and then pull them out of the ground. Just some common vandalism we have. I just want to make everyone aware. We had a few areas where we found campfires, drinking, and things like that. The ADA trail, unfortunately, we do get quite a bit of visitors, but we also have nice handrails there, and sometimes we get permanent markers and things like that on it. And then the yellow house along the road did have one minor break-in. This was a mix throughout the woods of different stuff occurring. And as I'm sure some of you may be aware of, the Lake Ridge Court, your KDH Police Department has worked hand in hand with the residents to live back in there and had cameras and things, but I don't know if you've seen pictures of what's occurred in those areas, but here's just a couple of them. Some of these are more new than others. We have people driving not only on those private properties, but eventually getting back into Nags Head Woods. So I put up some cables. I work with the residents to try to cable that off. Quite a bit of dumping back there. As you can see, some things have been were made along the asphalt road. It is a public road, and then guys jump giant spools of cable back in there into the wetlands. So, where there's access, you do get these kind of things. I think the KDH police has been going back there, monitoring, and doing the best you can. But there's only so much time in a given day, and I try to clean up, and the residents are aware of it and working. But I wanted to make you guys aware that there's some activity that's occurring around that area. We also got a grant from the Outer Banks Community Foundation for around $3,000 to help improve some of our signs. We got new trail signs that were put up there at our visiting center, which is the one in the right-hand corner. We've got our new rules and regulations that's been updated down there in the bottom corner. And we try to take a lot of the comments that we get from the books when people are having troubles in directions, finding themselves, hiking the trails. So we also got recycled in that middle corner. You can see where it says YMCA, that little trail that has built-in arrows and stuff like that. We went around all of our trails, and we've got new posts that kind of have direction arrows, have numbers that are assigned to our trails that go with our maps. And hopefully that will correct any problems that we're having when people are walking on the trails. And we also got a sign that goes over there because there is a little trail that leads from the YMCA and where the half marathon comes out and things of that nature. We've got a little visiting center that lets people know that when they go back there on the hike that they're entering Nags Head Woods, and it talks a little bit about the uniqueness of the maritime forest and stuff like that, so they can gain some respect and things like that as well. Then also, like I said, most recently we had a private donation that was donated 5 acres that we could add to Nags Head Woods. These are on the south end track there in Nags Head, but once again, this was a private donation. It came unexpectedly to us, and we're able to acquire 5 more acres in the maritime forest. So that to me is a very good plus to continue to add to some of this land and keep on adding to the conservation work we can do around the area. That's all I have for today. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer it. And then if there's anything that you'd like to ever come out in the woods, hike around, or seeing this stuff firsthand, I'd be happy to take you out there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Next, under introductions and presentations, is Rebecca Dudzinski. Welcome. She's going to update us on the 2014 Ice Cream Social Plans. So, good
Yes.
evening.
Good evening, thank you. Okay, last year, the Board of Commissioners graciously declined their cost of living raise and gave it back to the community by appropriating the funds to hold an ice cream social. The Kill Devil Hills Ice Cream Social originally started during the town's 50th anniversary celebration and was held for many years until 2009. Word got out and it became a very popular multi-generational event that everyone could enjoy. And last year, many people said how glad they were that the town was holding an ice cream social again. On behalf of the staff and the community, I would like to thank the Board of Commissioners for giving us the opportunity to resurrect and host this event again. It promotes goodwill amongst the community and gives the staff a chance to interact with the public on a social and lighthearted level, especially the emergency services personnel who are often responding to the public with serious needs. This event is also unique for the staff in that all departments of the town gladly come together to help host this event and show the citizens of our community how appreciative we are to serve them in any capacity. The Kill Devil Hills Fire Auxiliary will be serving up hamburgers, hot dogs, along with valuable fire safety tips, and the cookout begins at 4:30. There will also be a 50-50 raffle where half the proceeds will go to a winner and the other half will go to the auxiliary. No food will go wasted because we purposely timed this event to be the week before National Fire Prevention Week, and any leftovers will be utilized during the Oak Fire Department's open house.
Nice.
The Assistant Police Chief, Dana Harris, is always ready to serve a friendly scoop of ice cream. He, along with other officers, will be manning the ice cream booth. At this event, people truly enjoy being served by our police officers. Sherry Woods and Margaret Clark are our milkshake queens, and you can be sure that they will be shaking up some goodness by request. And the ice cream booth is scheduled to be open at 6 p.m. to allow time for setup, but they will be serving as soon as they can. We are fortunate to have the First Flight High School Jazz Band perform again at this event. They are scheduled to start around 5:30, and that will last for about 45 minutes. It's always a treat to hear them play, and it's also nice to be able to promote the local schools and the fine arts programs. The town contributes to the First Flight High School Jazz Band by making a modest donation for their wonderful performance. The Kill Devil Derby Brigade will also be gracing the rink with another demonstration this year. I don't want to spill the beans about what they have planned, but they've been practicing a choreographed routine that sounds like a daring crowd pleaser, something you won't want to miss. We are tight for time this year, so their demonstration will also begin at 5:30, and that will last for about a half an hour. The third and final display will be something that has never been done at any Kill Devil Hills Ice Cream Social. the OBX Storm soccer team will be debuting their new human foosball show around 6:30. Members from the OBX Storm soccer team will be traveling around to various community events with the human foosball structure to promote, recruit, and raise funds for their soccer team. But like I said, this will be the first time they have ever done this for an audience. This event is free to the public, and we hope to see everyone there. And we only ask two things. You come hungry, and you leave happy. There's flyers on the back table if anyone would like to take them, and please feel free to distribute them as you wish. Remember to mark your calendars for Monday, September 29th, beginning at 4:30, and we did set a rain date for Tuesday, September 30th.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.
It's like you guys have done a lot of planning, and so this will be even better this year than it was last year, which last year was a great success. So
Fun.
thank you and everyone in the town that you're working with, all the town staff. It's a great event.
Thank y'all.
Okay. We don't have any old businesses this evening, so we'll move on to new business. The first item under new business is speed limit on NC-12 Virginia Dare Trail. Commissioner Rebuttal, can I turn this over to you?
Absolutely. I got an email, as did, I think every one of y'all did. It's hard to tell sometimes when you get emails that it looks like it's just you, but I was pretty sure I wasn't the only one that got it. So it just happened to hit me at a time where I could email him back. So it was regarding an event that happened on Thursday, August the 7th, and he and his family were vacationing in Kill Devil Hills, and they were staying at his brother-in-law's wife's parents' house at milepost 6. Their puppy got out, to make a long story short, their dog got out of the house and got hit by a car. His point was that had it been a child that had run out into the street, that it would have been a lot more detrimental. I'm a dog person. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a dog person. So I was really upset that the dog was killed. And again, he understood and said that he realized the dog should have been in the house and that it was one of those things where it was a puppy. The door happened to be open. He scooted out. His concern was that he felt that the speed limit of 35 miles per hour was a little bit too much for that road. I couldn't say that I completely disagreed with him. I did say that I think one of the things we probably needed to do, and I think I carbon copied you on this as well, John, that something we could do maybe even before we took the step of making the recommendation for lowering the speed limit is some education. Because if people are doing what they're supposed to be doing on that road, it's hard to go 35, let alone 20, it's hard to go 25, let alone 35. Apparently this happened to just hit a stretch where there was a time where there wasn't a whole lot of people, and they were able to hit. He made reference to the fact that the person that was driving the vehicle was going in excess of 35. I'm not going to question that, but anytime I've ever been on that road, it's hard to stand beside a vehicle and see how fast they're going. They always seem like they're going faster than they are. But I assured him I would bring this to the Board of Commissioners, but I did, let him know that we're not the deciding body on this. That DOT is the one that decides this. We can most definitely talk about this. We can make recommendations, but I did tell him that I thought that probably one of the things that we needed to do prior to that would be to do some educational things, to let people know that they needed to be aware of the pedestrian crossings on that road. If people are aware, and I purposely drove up that road several times after this, and I watched people go past the pedestrian crossings with people standing at them, and that's very disconcerting to me. I've had several people tell me since then that they've seen Kill Devil Hills police officers stopping people doing that. So, kudos. That's a good thing. But it's one of those things where I said I would definitely bring this to the Board of Commissioners for discussion, and I think it's not necessarily the fact that the dog was killed. I think it would be a whole different discussion if we were talking about a child here, and that's not to say that I haven't seen children dart out there either. We've been very lucky in that fact as well, but I think there's some avenues we can take prior to that.
I know it was at some point during the early summer season, there was a campaign about stopping at crosswalks, and I know, Chief, that was that up and down? That was multiple towns participating in that, or was that just Killable Hills?
Well, we did ours, but other
Okay.
towns have done similar things also. And I'm on the bicycle safety committee that we have down. Usually hold it at Nag's Head and look at the different things and different challenges that we have to deal with on NC 12. So yes, we have done it in Killable Hills several times.
Has in your discussions with that work group, has the speed limit ever come up in your discussions?
No, but I have it on for our next one.
Okay, no, that's good. I just didn't know if it had come up from someone else before.
Yeah.
So.
What happens normally is that's a DOT, North Carolina Department of Transportation. They had to have an engineer come out to do the study, and in years past, as you find out on working on US 158, it takes a lot of effort to get anything changed because they like to keep everything running one speed limit up and down the beach, because usually your slowest speed limit affects the other side. If there's 35 and there's 25 in the middle, then basically everybody slows down to 25. So, but DOT would be final say on that. But we will continue to work out there, so don't think speed over 35 while you're out there. Not y'all, the people on TV.
Right. Does anyone have any other comments or questions or?
Yeah, I think if we decide to do anything or make any recommendations, look into it. We should maybe get some input from Kitty Hawk and Nag's Head also.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the disadvantages to doing that would be that 25 speed limit would, in my opinion, it would increase the traffic on 158. It's 25 miles an hour from point A to point B on the beach road would be pretty slow. And the other thing would be that if there is some consideration for doing that, and there is precedent for it, the state does lower some speed limits in season temporarily and then puts them back to where they normally are on off season, maybe a period of about 3 months. I believe on Hatteras Island, the speed limits through the towns down there in the off season is 45, and then from Memorial Day to Labor Day, they're lowered to 35. So there is precedent for it. That's all I have.
The only thing I would add, I mean, if we did it in season, then we're looking at even more traffic, because that's when our traffic congestion is obviously the highest. And I don't think you're ever going to completely avoid an unleashed animal.
Yeah.
Or someone that's
Child.
darting out from, and I thought in the original email that it had been out from behind a trash can or landscaping where they couldn't actually see it. So I'm not sure what speed you'd need to be going at to be able to stop on a dime at that point. But I'm not sure I'm in favor of doing any speed limit reductions just to, for potentially a pretty small number of incidents.
I actually put it out on Facebook, and I got a pretty wide differences of opinion on whether or not we should change it. And I was speaking to one of my friends, and they told me that they know a lot about dogs and stuff. They said it's a big difference between a dog and a child, and that you will see a child before you'll see a dog, and the dog moves so much faster than a child. It's by the time you see the dog, it's gonna be too late. So I'm not really sure if changing the speed limit is gonna even solve animals getting hit. I don't know.
Well, and that's definitely not what I agreed to bring before the board.
Right.
Well, we appreciate you having a discussion at your next meeting, and you can share with us any comments that come back from that. So, thank you. Anything else on that? Okay. Then we'll move on to item number 2 under new business, and Chief Tilley is here to share with us a proclamation on Fire Week and the upcoming Fire Week activities. Welcome.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Wanted to let you know that Fire Prevention Week will be starting in October 5th through the 11th. This year's theme is Working Smoke Alarms Save Lives. Test yours every month. Your fire department will be visiting all the area elementary schools to talk about public safety. We've also partnered with Lowe's to build small wooden fire trucks with the kids, along with sharing public safety information for the adults on how to make their house safer. And we'll also be holding an open house at the fire station on October 6th. It'll be a Monday night, so we look forward to seeing everyone there.
Great, thank you. And with that, I would ask for a motion to adopt the proclamation to declare October 5th through the 11th, 2014 as Fire Prevention Week in Kettleville Hills.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you, Chief. We look forward to those activities. So.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, the third item under new business, there are 2 appointments this evening, one to the Planning Board for 1 regular position, and for the Community Appearance Commission, there's 3 regular positions. And Mayor Pro Tem, I'll turn that over to you.
Okay, I would like to put out for nomination to the planning board, I would like Chris Shea for that planning board position. And the Community Appearance Commission, there's, let's see, there's 2 seats that are up, and one of them belongs to Chris Shea, and the other one is Bambos Charalambos. And there's 1 vacant spot at the moment. I would like to nominate Chris Shea and Bambos for the, to be reappointed, and nominate Holly White to the Community Appearance Commission. Now, I would like to add that just having it, provided the motion carries, just having nominated Chris Shea for the planning board, and she's also being recommended for reappointment to the CAC. However, Mr. Kimball, who is leaving the planning board, was the planning board's representative on the CAC. So at their next meeting, or whenever it's proper, according to the procedure, they can decide whether they want to appoint someone else. They make the decision to who they want to represent themselves at the board, and they can make the decision whether they would like her to stay or appoint someone else. Okay, so if you want to recap, then I would like to nominate Chris Shea for the planning board. I would like to nominate Chris Shea and Bambos Charalambos for reappointment to the CAC, and also nominate Holly White for appointment to the CAC.
That's
Did I get that right?
I think so. Is there, yeah, we can do it all
What?
in one motion. Okay.
No, Chris Shea. I'll let you finish.
Okay. Is, you did. So there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions?
Clarification.
Okay.
And I don't have my appointments book in front of me to show the guidelines. But if I remember correctly, the intent of the board was that you wanted someone on the planning board on the CAC. but you wanted that person appointed by the planning board.
Right,
Is that correct?
yes.
Right, and so Mike's motion wasn't, and actually, I was thinking that James Almany was appointed by the planning board to serve on the CAC.
Then,
Okay,
So that, this won't change anything about the
No,
appointment from the planning board to serve on the CAC.
okay, so, but I guess my point is, so the board is now saying you'll have, this will make you, have 2 planning board members on the CAC, and that's fine. I just wanted to clarify that that's what was being done.
Unless the planning board decides to do something
Right.
differently, I think.
typically, that's not the case, and I apologize for mentioning that wrong, but with Chris being reappointed, that would be up to the planning board whether or not they would want to remain having 2 people on the CAC.
Then Mr. Almany would not be on the CAC
No.
if that was the case, if they didn't want?
No, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Am I the only one confused?
No, I guess it's gonna be if,
Who they want representing.
right, that we would go back and let them discuss who wants to represent them, and if they end up, if James doesn't wanna serve and Chris does, then I guess that's fine, but if Chris doesn't wanna serve, then we're still gonna need to fill another seat come.
Exactly,
Right,
that's
we
where-
still may need to fill her seat if she is on the
Right.
planning board. We may need to be appointing in another month a member to the CAC.
Okay,
But you would potentially have 2 members of the planning board that were also on the CAC.
If they both wanted to serve,
Right.
yes. Is everyone comfortable with that?
I am. But I do think we need to let that board decide who they want to be the liaison between the 2 boards. Which is in the,
I don't expect that would change.
yeah, right.
Well, what is the term for the planning board representative to the CAC?
That I,
So
Do you
there's
know?
no term.
No, but, okay. So it's
Do
not
you
a set
make,
term.
when you go to the meetings, do you like do updates of what they've done and?
I do, and
Yeah.
there actually is a term. I think it's only, I actually took over for Howard Buchanan. I thought it was 2 years, and I think it's up sometime this, next spring, if I remember correctly.
So if there's a term, the
There is a
planning.
term for that, for me being appointed to that, being the liaison.
So then they wouldn't, if
So
that
he's-
term hasn't expired, they wouldn't do anything at the next meeting.
Correct,
You're right. So they're both gonna just be
Right, so
serving.
you'll, so
So-
for,
correct.
okay. Sorry,
Right.
I
No,
was
that's
just a little
okay.
confused.
Well, that we, just, no, I think
I
it's good bringing it up
understand
so
what you're
everybody's
saying,
on the
yeah.
same page, so since there is a term, there'll be 2 members. Yeah. Okay, so there's a motion, a second. Any other discussion on these nominations? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
My apologies to Mr. Almany.
My apologies to the board.
I can't see you, this guy's sitting in front of you, so.
Okay, all right, we will move on then to Commissioner's agenda. Commissioner Midget.
Yeah, I forgot to mention earlier, but when we were talking about the Highway 12, maybe we could put like a button-operated strobe or something for at the pedestrian crosswalks that would start flashing to get the car's attention. Like, hey, there's someone here, one needs to cross. I don't know how well that would work. It was just
Yeah,
something
because
to
it's not a
think of.
stoplight, but that's.
But as long as
but
it's
it
like
is something.
yeah, something that's flashing, but it's not always flashing. That way, it'll get their attention as opposed to the one that just constantly pulses. Also, I want to ask about what were we doing with the "Thank you for not smoking" signs on the beach? Did we talk about that sometime? One point.
I'm trying to remember. Looking to Mary.
Cigarette butts.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was something like that, but not a no smoking sign, but something worded to where it gave the impression that we preferred that they didn't smoke. I don't remember exactly what it was. I thought that maybe you would.
Yeah, we had discussed some signage, and I remember seeing some drawings, and I'm trying to remember where they came from.
It was back during the trash attack time.
Yeah,
and
trash attack.
Some of the artwork was, that was turned in was for not littering your cigarette butts.
I think it was one of the senior presentations from the high school.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't one of the groups do something about not smoking?
Right, could
Yeah.
be.
They said they want butts on the beach, but not cigarette butts.
Right,
Oh.
right.
It's just
Yeah,
the word butt. You can say
Isn't that
butt.
what it was for?
We say bottom in our house. It's because I have a 4 and a 6-year-old. I'm playing
Don't tell
with
your
you.
kids I said that.
We did put signs out this spring and summer.
Yeah.
We will be pulling them down along with some others over the winter so we can take a look at how we can better get the message out without so many individual blades, perhaps on individual posts, or, just reducing the clutter.
Sure.
So, you're right, we did put some out.
Okay, great. And I guess that's all for me.
Do you mind, I'm putting you on the spot, but just share, you continue to
Oh,
do
great,
some diligence
great, yeah.
on the noise.
That's correct. I've forgotten about that. As promised, I've gone out several Sundays and a few Saturdays to the pit to try to understand firsthand the noise disturbance reported by Mr. DeGita. Realizing that everyone has a different threshold or sensitivity to various stimuli, I myself have yet to experience what I would consider to be an offensive excess of noise. I spoke to Ben Sproul, one of the owners of the pit, and I found him to be concerned about not disturbing any neighbors. Ben has shown me the steps that have been taken to lessen the leaking of the noise generated from his establishment, and I've also witnessed him turn down the outdoor DJ's bass when he thought it was might be too loud. He's demonstrated that he is obviously concerned about being a good neighbor, and I certainly found him to be cooperative in receiving input about any possible disturbance. I wanted to thank Mr. DeGita for bringing this issue to the board's attention, as we are indeed open to hearing from citizens at all times. However, I cannot support from my own witness that the pit is causing noise at a disturbing level.
Thank you. And I appreciate all the
Thank you.
times you went
That's a
out.
lot of
and
Thank you very much.
Late
Yeah.
hours and looking into that.
Very late.
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Appleman.
The only thing was I wanted to bring everybody's attention to the Nags Head had done, I guess they had gone and looked at the trash being left on the beach. So if you haven't seen the article on the web, you might want to take a look at some of the comments as we potentially move forward with something similar. I think it's one of those things that it seems like the majority of the public is in favor of having a policy that you take what you brought to the beach home at the end of each day. So I'd certainly like to see that come up at some point.
Great.
So.
Thank you. And I know at their meeting, they did not adopt an ordinance, but they did ask their staff to go back and make a few
And
tweaks
look at
to
it.
it. So I think one of the items that we had discussed last time was looking at their ordinance and then building from that as we look on it. So maybe depending on what happens at their next meeting, we can have a copy of that in our packet for our
and
next meeting.
Some of the discussion that they're having is what to do with it. The other towns that remove it dispose of it. There was some discussion at the Nags Head meeting about storing it and keeping it for a certain amount of time, and so I'll be interested to see what direction they go with that. I'll be talking with the Nags Head manager tomorrow, and I'm curious to some of the other information. Apparently, they gave them some direction on some ways they wanted it tweaked.
Okay.
And one of the other items of discussion, I remember, was related to the time. I think their ordinance originally was maybe 6 p.m. and then it became a big discussion of, well, what's the appropriate time to say that's the end of the day? Because certainly during the summer, there's people out there till 8 o'clock, but then how do you manage it with your personnel who may be getting off and who's going to come back and check? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to follow that conversation.
All right.
Thank you.
That was it for me.
Okay, great. Commissioner Rebuttal?
I just wanted to say the the fire awareness thing that they did last year was excellent. I recommend anybody who can go. It was a wonderful event. My 10-year-old daughter had a great time putting on the fire suit and doing all the kind of things that I'm gonna tell you. Kids will love it. That said, I think I brought this up at the last meeting. The meetings all start running together, and I missed a meeting or two. So we have an Alzheimer's walk on September the 20th here in Kill Devil Hills. It's going to start at Spring Arbor, right back here. It's going to go to the Baum Center and then back to Spring Arbor. It's to raise money for Alzheimer's North Carolina. The money will stay in Dare County. You can do several different things. You can create your own team. You can join a team. The Baum Center has a team. You can just show up. The fire department will be there with a fire truck. The police department has graciously said they would be more aware. We don't actually need a permit because we're actually walking on the sidewalks, but it's always good to let people know that we're going to have that many people walking. And there's going to be a lot going on that day. There'll be pizza there that day, stuff that morning. The day before, on the 19th, Spring Arbor is also sponsoring a barbecue dinner. That starts, the barbecue dinner is Friday night, September 19th from 6 to 9. If you eat there, you get free entertainment from the band The Crowd. So you can stay there and dance and have a good time. Takeout is also available. Tickets for that are $10 a piece. If you so wish, I have those tickets, or you can also acquire them at the door. Again, this walk is just something that raises awareness and does things. We do a lot of different things with that money. We raised over somewhere around $13,000 or $14,000 last year. We've done a lot of educational things. We usually do a caregivers conference here in Dare County. So there's a lot of really good things that's done with that. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
Sure. Touching on what you said, on Labor Day weekend, I talked to Dave Elder on the beach, and I asked him how that all went, and he said it was really a major improvement. But he feels like every beginning of every season, we're going to go through somewhat of a teaching process to get people that do that, and then they tell somebody, so somebody else doesn't do it. And he didn't think personally, based on the end of the season, that they're he doesn't know whether we should really come down too hard on it right now. But he said it all depends on probably how it goes season to season, so we'll see how it goes next year. And now just comment on what Debbie said, just about all the places I've researched that have had ordinance like that, they treat it as litter. So, tents, whatever it happens to be, they treat it as litter. The other thing I have is, I spoke to the mayor about this, and I think, I'll let her speak for herself if she likes, but I think we should move forward in some manner with doing something at the Baum track with the disc golf. And Sheila contacted Bob Logan, the family that offered to donate money in remembrance of their son to help fund the course, and they are anxious to donate that, and they're anxious to see us get something started. So I would like to, there are two things. I would like to see if there's a consensus for maybe looking in to get something started. And the other thing, at the recommendation of the town manager and the assistant manager, they thought maybe we could pick out a couple members of the Baum Track Study Committee, and then along with another person out of the community, doesn't necessarily have to be in Kill Devil Hills, somebody with some level, maybe knowledge of the subject, and have them be kind of a liaison on that specific subject, not the Baum Track itself, but that specific subject of the disc golf course. And they would be dealing with staff and finding experts and figuring out ways to get it done with volunteers and et cetera. And now I'm going to move on to one or two other little things here about the Baum Track, but if the mayor wants to comment some more on it, she can. But I also think maybe concurrently or around the same time, we could have, we could look into getting a dog park. And I understand they don't take up too much space, less than an acre is what I hear. And I feel confident we could get some sponsorship on that, and it may not cost us anything. So if that's the case, I think we should definitely take advantage of it. So what I'm saying is we have something for the disc golf aficionados, which seems to be a lot of interest in. And then we have something for the dog people, which I don't own a dog, but I think dog parks are a wonderful idea. Dogs don't ever get to run off the leash anywhere, so. And one other thing that I would like to have us look into, and again, it could be done with volunteers, with Boy Scouts, or any interested parties. And you could just have work parties on the weekend, or to work on a trail, some semi-developed trail winding through the park in some manner, and ending up at the Sound, and then see about getting started on putting up a boardwalk, at least on part of the Sound, and a kayak canoe launch over in that area. So if there's consensus for that, what I'll do at our next bomb track meeting, which we're getting ready to call one to review what we've heard from Surface, I'll talk to them about it and get a couple people from there, and there's one or two other people that might be interested. It'd be a big help to us that Sheila's told me about. So let's see, that's all I have.
Okay, so as far as the disc golf course, I guess knowing, and Debbie helped me with this, knowing that we have a family that, as earlier today I spoke with them, they would like to commit $15,000 to the park in memory of their son. I feel like to take what Mike's saying, assuming we're going to have consensus for this, would be to come up with, really get that group that a small group together to move forward with having a design, and then really what does it cost to do that. And then I think it needs to come back to the board to understand, we don't know at this point, is $15,000 enough? Is it not, and if it's not enough, then again, it comes back to us to say, okay, then what do we do? What is our funding plan to make it enough so we can move forward with this?
Right.
So is a realistic step to provide, for the board to provide guidance to do that, to convene a small group to basically come up with a design and a cost estimate?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there consensus from everyone to do that?
Did I understand you to say we're just finding out the cost estimate? We're not saying go ahead with this. We're finding out what the cost is. So if it comes back that it's $50,000, we're not necessarily saying, okay, we're going to do this. We need to come up with the other
And we're not spending any
35.
money yet.
Okay, just checking.
Right, we just need to know what it is, so if it is 50, then we say, okay, where can we get the extra funds? Can we apply for a grant through the tourism board with matching funds through this donation? Are there other funds elsewhere?
Right.
So this is just we just need something to work, because right now we don't have a plan and we can't move forward.
If I may, just a minute, just getting back to the disc golf course, I just remembered that, looking on there was a site recommended, don't know if you all got it or not, and I went to it and looked at the Disc Golf Association, I believe it is, and they have ratings on disc golf courses all over everywhere. I mean, there's hundreds of them in the various states around here. And they have, I clicked on some of the ads there, and some of the places that make the baskets, they have a round thing on top, and then the chains come down, so the disc hits and then falls in the basket. Well, around the top of that, there's an area a few inches high and goes all the way around. And they print them, they custom print them, and a lot of places sell a hole, and the business buys they get their name on the hole, so they could sponsor a hole. I think it's a pretty cool idea. That could be some revenue.
Yeah.
$10,000 a hole, we're set. Probably be more like in the hundreds, I guess.
Okay, so there's consensus for that then, that part, okay. And then, Mike, to follow up on the dog park and the trail, are you also asking staff to look at parceling those items out and coming up with estimates, or what was?
I don't think
what
at this
direction?
time. I mean, I think we ought to deal with them one at a time,
Okay.
personally. if we get going on this, and then we can look into a couple of those other things, because we don't want to bite off more than we can chew or afford, so.
Okay, so you're just throwing them up there as kind of your vision?
Yeah, I just kind of
where-
threw those two things in there to add, to make those like the first three things we deal with.
Okay. Is everybody comfortable with where we are with that then?
I'm fine with that. I mean, I think we need to look at least parts of where the dog park would be, just for the overall site plan. I mean,
Sure.
but other than that, I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd certainly like to see one back there, so.
Great. Okay. Okay, anything else?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, under the mayor's agenda this evening, I have one item, which is actually what came up at public comment, and thank you, gentlemen, both for staying. I know it's been a extra long meeting with our closed session. But recently, we, the board, received information about a project proposed to be conducted by the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management to utilize seismic testing, or sonic blast, to determine how the Earth's continents broke apart. And basically, when this information was shared, this was also on the heels of Nags Head adopting a proclamation in opposition of this, and also our timeline to respond really almost has passed. It was September 2nd when they were receiving public comment for this. So you may recall, with assistance from Mary, we submitted a letter and let them know that we may be following up with additional information, but we did not want to have anything as far as comment in there for the close of the public comment on the 2nd. So the proclamation that's attached is very similar to the one. There's some changes that NAGS had adopted. But I know some of you have done your own research, and we've talked offline about concerns of this. And so I still have this before us to consider this evening, but certainly welcome your comments and opinions on this. Does anyone have any comments they want to share?
Well, I sent off some questions and I got a reply. It's a pretty detailed reply, but I got a picture of where they plan to do the proposed testing. You know, all of, you know, there's pretty detailed information that they sent out, and that's, you know, where they're looking at. But there's actually two different surveys that they're going to be doing. You know, I don't know how that's going to affect the marine life, but it's pretty loud, you know, dynamite into the earth, so it's, you know, it can't be good. And you know, I just don't know.
It's air guns.
Yeah, air guns.
And you have to have no observers on board before you do any of that.
Right, but
I'm not a science
yeah.
certified, but I've towed around. I've done so much of that work as the driver of the vessel that those boys have to follow some strict guidelines.
Sure. But, you know, it's the decibel underwater is, you know, it's going to be pretty significant.
What you should do is look at the findings that they've been using around the Gulf and around the world, Mexico, Brazil, places where air guns have been used so much. Look up that and then make a good sound judgment on that. But right now, unless y'all are, I'm not a scientist at all.
Yeah.
But then you can find out the exact decibel levels and how they affect up to date.
Yeah. Well, what I read in there, I think it was like 250, but I you know, I'd have to read it again to be sure I was reading exact what they're going to be using. But you know, it's not, we don't have a lot of time here. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, one of the concerns I had and what was originally shared with us was the fact that it was the study without. I'm drawing a blank on the language in that first part. It was like, so you remember, that basically this being authorized to do the study without risk of report or something like that. That's what concerned me the most, was basically waiving that. And Mary or Debbie, do y'all know the language?
I do- I
I'm
can't.
drawing a blank
I
right
know.
now. But basically, it was basically pulling out the requirement for the BOEM to have to report the risk factor or their findings with that. And so that, to me, was really concerning, that you would pull it out and not make them have to do the reporting. So whether you're supporting the authorizing of the seismic testing or not, this wasn't really just on the seismic testing as a whole when we were responding to this letter. This was on the fact that they could do the seismic testing without having to, it's almost like without having to fully disclose the risks and findings. And so that to me just was incredibly concerning, because it's important that, if that's going to happen, that you are going to learn the good and the bad that come of it. So I guess if we certainly, we've already sent the letter. The option we have is to follow up with the proclamation. This is also consistent, in line with what we've adopted recently, opposing offshore drilling. If we don't want, so kind of what's before you in this packet is to either consider adopting this resolution and submitting this with, as a follow-up to the letter. The comment time's closed, so if you wanted more time, you could have it, and we could, table this. But if you're prepared, and again, I would say it is consistent, which is also what's stated in the cover memo with the proclamation we recently adopted, then we can adopt it and send it on. So it's kind of really just want the direction from the board on what you're comfortable doing.
I'm comfortable now with the resolution.
Now with the resolution.
Yeah, the way it is now, yeah. I spent a good bit of time on it, on their site, and I sent a separate email in for comment. So,
I think the challenge is the unknowns. So I mean, the part that I like in the resolution is that it's consistent with what the other towns in North Carolina have done, is request that more thought be given to what type of technology is being used and how, before just going full steam ahead. So, with that, I would be in support of the resolution.
yeah, from what I read, I understood there are some plausible alternatives to doing it this way. So,
I agree with you on that. It is not only the unknowns, but it seems to me, and maybe it's just how I read it, but it seems like there was a rush to hurry up and get this done. So again, when you're talking about something like this that's going to affect so much, it's always better, in my opinion, to take just a step back for just a moment and find out the knowns. Let's see. We do it with everything else. Let's try this. So I would be very supportive of this, just simply because of the fact that there are so many unknowns, and we are on a the time frame on that just seemed like it was a little pushed.
Yeah, I tell you, I think on a personal level, I'm probably less interested in continental drift than I am with making sure that we've got seafood out there.
I agree.
Okay. All right, with that being said, a motion would be in order to approve the resolution as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Is
I'll
there a
second.
second? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That's all I have this evening, so we'll move on to the town manager's agenda.
Nothing this evening.
Okay, town attorney's agenda
Nothing for you this evening.
and the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. 3 items. First, the minutes from the August 11, 2014 meeting. Second, the 2014 annual condition of fire reports. This report, which pertains to the qualification of the fire department to receive the coming year's firefighters relief fund monies, includes the appointment of 2 trustees for the firefighters relief fund. Chief Tilly has recommended the board appoint Finance Director Beverly Kinsinger and Fire Department Volunteer Support Member Jerry Froelich. With the approval of the consent agenda, it would verify them as your appointment. Also, budget amendments, we have 3. The first one is to provide funds for purchase of in-car cameras for police department. The second is to record tower income and associated expense. And lastly, to record the encumbrances outstanding at June 30, 2014, which was the end of the fiscal year. Staff recommends approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is now the second time this evening, the second opportunity that we have this evening for public comment. Is there anyone that wishes to speak at this public comment time? Seeing no hands, we'll close public comment. And there's nothing else from the board. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second?
Anything else? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
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 Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for being here.